And we are on, everybody. Welcome back to Mason Street Retirement Insights, the podcast hosted by Sean Mason, the retirement strategist and the founder of Mason Street Wealth Management. Get in touch with Sean and the team at masonstreetwealthmanagement.com. And, of course, you still got that phone. And I love, we don't have to say long distance, toll-free, anything like that, because you just punch it in your cell phone now. It's great what technology has become. 559-892-0002. The number again, 559-892-0002. 0002. I'm your co-host, Doug Turnbull. And Sean, you're in the office today. We're rocking and rolling here. This is our third episode of this brand new podcast, Mason Street Retirement Insights. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing really good, Doug. I'm really excited to be communicating with the community. Love working with them.
Hey, well, we love working with you too, my friend, and I look forward to learning some more today about Social Security. That's going to be the topic du jour in our first two episodes. We just did a get to know you, Sean. We just talked about why you got into the business and who you are, some of your interests. In the second episode, we talked about 401ks, one of the most basic retirement plans, kind of the replacement of the pension, if you will. That's sort of why it was developed there some 50 years ago. So we're going to jump into Social Security today. But first off, I just need to get a grasp of what winter is like in your part of California, okay? Because you're in the Fresno area. Does it get super cold? Does it stay kind of mild? In Georgia, we've been riding a roller coaster here where I'm recording from.
You know, I think we're riding a roller coaster too, and it's kind of unusual. We're right in the middle of California, and usually it's pretty mild, but we've been down in the 30s, which I know for most of the country probably is pretty mild for them, but for us it's pretty cold. Right now it's raining, and when it rains, we get some warmer temperatures, so we're good. We're needing snow, though.
Okay.
You know, we need water in the Central Valley, and the snow is a major contributor, so we're all keeping our fingers crossed.
Well, I know you got your fingers crossed, and I'm sure you've had your heads bowed, too, for your friends there to the south in Southern California. I know the wildfire story really enraptured everyone, especially in the month of January there. So we keep our thoughts that way. Weather's just been wild, and whether it's, you know, flooding and such like we're close to been dealing with here in Georgia lately or that, it's been all over the place. So I hope you get what you guys need over there.
Yeah, you know, that was a real tragedy down there. We're quite a ways away, so we weren't affected. But we all have family. I have family down there. It was horrific. You know, they're sleeping with one eye open. But I think the majority of it is behind them and starting the recovery process.
Yeah, and a long one at that. We'll definitely keep. Yeah, definitely. We're going to keep our eyes open for that, and of course, there's ways to donate to that too as well. Hey, before we talk about Social Security, Sean, you've just rebranded the whole practice, right? Mason Street Wealth Management, masonstreetwealthmanagement.com, and you actually have events where you go out and get to know people better in the community and get them more interested in what you guys are about. And coming up here in this month, here in the middle of March, you've got some retirement planning sessions ahead. So can you explain what those are about and when they are?
Yeah, those are held at Fresno State University. We've had the great fortune of teaching that class for maybe 10 years, and it's extraordinary. It's very comprehensive. You got to be willing to put some time in. It's a couple nights. I think they charge a minimal fee to go to the class, but it's quite extensive, and you learn a lot.
So, and I think the two classes that I have written down here, March 13th and 20th, so it's like a two-part special, and then March 18th and 25th. All right, so.
Yeah, it's a total of 6 hours divided up into 2 nights, and you just got to be ready for a whole lot of information. It's like a fire hose of information coming at you. But there's some lab work that is an extension of the course afterwards, and all kinds of opportunity to get questions answered.
I hope these retirement summits, if you will, go a little bit better than the retirement planning session I'm about to play for you here. Here's comedian Zoltan Kazas talking about, and he's a guy who's in his 30s like me, talking about retirement. Have a listen to this here, Sean.
He goes, well, when are you going to retire? And I'm like, I don't know. What are people saying? And he goes, well, a lot of people now are saying 68. And I'm like, all right, put me down for 68. And then he goes, all right, now how long do you need this retirement money to last you? And I'm like, are you asking me when I'm going to die? I don't know. And he goes, well, a lot of people are saying that they need this money for 15 years after 68. And I'm like, well, what happens if I live 16 years? And that's right, I think he got annoyed because he cut me off. He goes, look, do you want it or not? So I'm retiring at 68, and I need to be dead. 15 years after that. If I live beyond that, you guys are going to be seeing some GoFundMes going up.
That's a facetious way to look at it there. Again, it could be the exultant causes, but I sure hope the comprehensive retirement planning goes a little bit more congenial and maybe straightforward than that there, Sean. And I think that's a good lead in right here to Social Security, because one of the equations people take is, okay, wait, when do I start drawing it? Early, late, whichever. But you just need to walk us through that whole process first there about SSI.
Yeah, and I think first, Doug, it's important to suggest to our viewers and listeners that, there's a lot of minutia within the Social Security apparatus, and it's imperative to understand those details if you want to put together or design a strategy that's going to be most beneficial in getting you to where you want to go, reaching your goals, accomplishing what you want to accomplish. So really important. But with that said, and this discussion being more conceptual oriented, there's a lot of varying factors to consider. And
Sure.
The importance of those factors is more than likely going to be determined by your personal situation, goals, and what you're trying to accomplish.
Well, for sure. And that's why when we give advice or just updates on this podcast, I mean, everybody's deal is different, and that's why it's so important to talk to someone. So can you walk us through just when people normally start taking Social Security and how to maximize that? Is it counted as income? Because you've been paying into it all this time. Is it work the same as income? Just some of the very basics here, because that's a term more than a lot of the other financial terms that people have heard a lot, but I bet there are some misunderstandings, and in your years in the business, I'm sure you've seen a lot of people misunderstand it.
There is a lot of misunderstanding because there's a lot to it. Basically, somebody could start if they qualify. So there's some criteria that you have to meet to qualify for Social Security benefits in the first place. But if you do, you can start taking Social Security at age 62. The caveat there is if, unfortunately, you're a widow, then you have some additional strategies available to you. But most of us, we can start taking Social Security at 62. And every year that we defer or delay starting Social Security, that Social Security benefit will increase. That's an increase in addition to cost of living adjustments, by the way. But it'll increase every year that you delay all the way up to age 70. So your highest benefit amount is going to be age 70.
The highest benefit amount's age 70. Now, I hear that immediately, Sean, and I go, well, shoot. I'm going to be fine, man. I'm going to live to be 150 anyway. So, yeah, I'll wait. I'm going to wait till age 70 to get the maximum amount per month. What's a reason that someone shouldn't do that?
Yeah, what a great question that is. Look, it's all about strategy. It depends on your situation. You may be single, married. You might be a widow. You might have dependent children, and what are their ages? And maybe you have special needs dependents. Your health, your life expectancy is going to determine in part what your strategy is. Are you investment savvy? Do you have confidence in your investment skill set, or maybe your investment advisor's skill set? Do you have earned income prior, and how much prior to your full retirement age? Those are all going to play into what types of strategies you use. And then probably the most overlooked factor is what you're trying to accomplish, because what you just referred to, Doug, is what most of us think that we're trying to accomplish, and that is, how do we get the most money out of the Social Security Administration, right? And with that, if that is your strategy, then look, if your life expectancy, if you're planning on living past age 82, then you're going to start your Social Security at age 70, because that is going to give you the most money out of the administration. But I'll tell you, for most of us, once we really start diving in and digging down into what's most important, what we're really trying to accomplish, it's probably not that. It's probably, how do I get the most out of all of my resources combined together? And sometimes that is not going to suggest that you are trying to get the most out of the Social Security Administration.
And look, the longer you wait to take Social Security, that means all those months. I mean, age 62 to 70, that's 8 years, 96 months worth of benefits. So if you wait till age 70, you're maximizing the number you get per month, but you've also missed on 96 months of it. So there really is a balance, too, especially based on life expectancy, right?
Yeah, there really is. I mean, you may be that person that feels very confident in your investment abilities. And so maybe you say to yourself, hey, I'm going to use and I'm going to turn that Social Security benefit into a lot higher benefit through time because of my investment abilities. You might be somebody also that just doesn't have a lot of confidence in the Social Security Administration to continue to keep providing. And so that might be also a determining factor. What if you had childhood diabetes and your life expectancy is not as long? You're going to say, hey, I'm going to start taking this at 62. I don't have a long way to go.
And that's a great point. Yeah, and you've done this a long time. Have you run into people who just had can you think of any instances where someone just had a total misunderstanding? They had a strategy, marched into your office. Oh, yeah, I'm going to take it at 62, get every penny I can get, or vice versa. And then you opened up a few of these factors to them, and they said, oh, wait a minute. They really benefited from talking to you about their strategy in taking SSI?
All the time. Every day people come in and they think that they have figured out when they're going to start Social Security. What most people don't really understand is that in this retirement planning landscape, the strategy of retirement in a holistic perspective, each piece of the puzzle is affecting other pieces of the puzzle. You cannot figure out your best strategy for Social Security without taking into consideration all the other pieces to the puzzle. There's taxes, there's Roth conversion strategies, there is, what if you have a early passing between you and your spouse and you recognize that we're going to lose one of the Social Securities? Often that's a huge change in a household cash flow.
Yeah.
You might take that in consideration, and that's not even a part of trying to get the most out of the Social Security Administration in the first place.
Well, yeah, and that's a great point. Yeah, as if your household income changes, will you even be able to sustain without having that? So there's taxes. Remember, it counts as income tax, right? You are getting income, although I know there's talk about that changing eventually. And just to rewind on something you said, too, there's confidence. There's a Social Security fund, and then there's actually funding it in the budget, too. How much does that fund have left over when going forward? That could affect how people get paid. So there's all sorts. You started off this discussion, Sean, by saying there's all sorts of minutia. It's complicated. There's so many levers and factors to consider. If somebody wants to start that conversation with you, maybe they've never talked to an advisor before, maybe they need a second opinion, how do they get in touch with you, and what else can you provide too?
Give us a call. One of our great team members will find a really convenient time on the schedule for us to get there together and talk, whether it's just a short phone call, whether we get together on a screen share. I really love when you come into the office and sit at the table, but there's a lot to discuss. We'll get your questions answered. Keep remembering that if you are really trying to figure out, and specifically we're talking about Social Security today, keep understanding that there's so much more to the discussion than just Social Security.
Yeah, well, there really is too, and I mean, you're helping people, like you said, with Roth conversion strategies, or how to draw off a certain retirement accounts, different ways to have different income over retirement. Heck, you're having those comprehensive retirement plan seminars here through the month of March. So get in touch with Sean Mason and the team at Mason Street Wealth Management. 559-892-0002, or go to masonstreetwealthmanagement.com. Get that conversation started. Can't sit on your hands and expect your money to grow, right? That just makes it more uncomfortable where your wallet is, all right, if you sit on your hands, okay? So, Sean, I really appreciate you walking us through this initial entree into Social Security. I know there's so much more to discuss, and just appreciate you enlightening us.
Yeah, that was fun, Doug, and I appreciate you being on here with us. And keep coming back, keep listening to our listeners. Lots of valuable information that we'll be disseminating throughout these podcasts.
Ooh, good application of the word disseminating. Amen to that. Hey, be sure to catch these episodes. They'll start queuing up here on the media page or podcast page on masonstreetwealthmanagement.com. Well, they're on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, some of the other podcatchers, if you will. And if you hear something that you think is important for people to know, and maybe your friend, your brother, your cousin, whoever that's starting to go through that stage of life, go ahead and flip that link to them too. Make sure and spread the word about that too. So that's where you can find all the past episodes, including, like I said, our first two, which we're getting to know Sean at 401ks. We've got another episode coming your way here very shortly. He is Sean Mason, retirement strategist and the founder of Mason Street Wealth Management. Thanks to our producer Daniel Salerson for getting this all put together and launched and published. And thank you all for listening to Mason Street Retirement Insights. Mason Street Wealth Management, MSWM, is a registered investment advisor, and the opinions expressed by MSWM on this show are their own and do not reflect the opinions of Motivate Investments. Registration is not an endorsement by securities regulators. Investment advisory services are offered through Motivate Investments, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. All statements and opinions expressed are based upon information considered reliable, although it should not be relied upon as such. Any statements or opinions are subject to change without notice. The information presented is for educational purposes only and does not intend to make an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities, investments, or investment strategies. Investments involve risk and, unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Information expressed does not take into account your specific situation or objectives and is not intended as recommendations appropriate for any individual. Listeners are encouraged to seek advice from a qualified tax, legal, or investment advisor to determine whether any information presented may be suitable for their specific situation. Past performance is not indicative of future performance. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities. Offered through Sean A. Mason, California, insurance license number 0B54860. The firms are separate entities. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company and are not offered by Motivate Investments. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. MSWM is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if MSWM is licensed in your state, please call 559-892-0002.